take a moment and just allow your eyes to close. And allow yourself to arrive to this moment. Right here, right now. This is the only opportunity, the only chance you have to grasp this moment. Right here, right now. Allow your awareness, the fullness of your attention and intention to be allow yourself to expand that awareness, to expand that awareness beyond just the physical body or the breath. Allow the awareness to expand beyond your individual self. Can you feel that awareness expanding into the universe around you? It's easy to be aware of your own arms and legs, the itch on your nose. But allow that awareness to expand so that you are just as aware of the bird chirping in the branches of the tree, hundreds of meters away. Allow the awareness to expand in such a way that you are just as aware of the flowing, rushing waters of Mother Ganga. Not aware intellectually, but actually present with them. Feel that expansive awareness in all directions around you. And allow it with each breath to keep expanding and expanding. How far does your awareness reach? How vast can your presence be? And as the awareness and the presence expands outward, allow it to expand inward as well. It's easy to be aware of the body and the breath. But can you allow the awareness to expand through the breath into the very infinite spaciousness within you? How much can you be aware of at once? Try to see if you can keep that awareness gentle and spacious, not jumping around like a ping pong ball, but more and more inclusive and expansive each moment. Slowly and gently, bring the palms of your hands together at chest level and rub them gently against each other. Press the palms of your hands into your closed eyes. Slowly lower the hands and open the eyes. Welcome to Satsang. We start with a question that's come from our online audience, joining us from every corner of the world through a gift of technology. And then we'll open it up to any questions that anyone here has. We have 2 microphones on stands at the front, so if you have a question, you can feel free to just come up to either of the microphones. What is more important, the words or the emotions when you are chanting? So they're both important, and they're important for different reasons. If what you're chanting is a Sanskrit mantra from the Vedas, they're not just a random selection of semantics, right? If I want to say, I love you to Preeti, I could say it in any way. So many different word choices I could use, different syntaxes I could use. Because if all I'm trying to do is convey a meaning with words, use anything. I could say I love you. I could say, oh God, I really love you. I could say, I love you so much. I could say, you have no idea how much I love you. Right? It's all the same basically, but slightly different syntaxes, slightly different word choices. But with the Sanskrit mantras, there actually is a science, an alchemy to the exact word choices, the exact order of the words, the exact cadence of the chanting. It's alchemical, really. And it's why the mantras are said to be able to transform us, whether you actually understand what they mean or not. It's why so frequently you'll sit and you can listen to this incredible chanting from priests, from our Rishi Kumars. You may not know what any of it means, but you feel something reverberating in you that is very, very powerful. So if what you're chanting is Sanskrit, if it's mantras from the Vedas, the words themselves actually are important as well. Pronunciation is important. Getting the right words in the right order is important. It's not just, obviously God understands what we're saying, so I forgot a word or two. Does it really matter? Well, it matters if you want to get the fullest benefit of that chanting. But if you want not just the alchemical power of the mantra itself, but you want the spiritual gifts, the blessings, the grace that comes with that love. Typically our chanting is part of what we call bhakti yoga, path of devotion, of love. I could say over and over again, I love you, I love you, I love you. I could say it in the exact perfect Sanskrit. I could say it in all of the different mantras. Because interestingly, if you look at most of the mantras that we chant, essentially what they're saying is, to the divine in this particular form, with these characteristics, with this name, I bow to you. If you take most of the mantras we chant, they're basically some variation of that. To this divine being, with these names, these forms, these characteristics, I bow to you. I surrender to you. I love you. You could say it in perfect Sanskrit. But if it's just a semantic recitation, and there's no actual feeling of love, well, then you don't get all of the juicy benefits, right? I mean, look, if we as human beings are able to tell the difference between someone who really loves us versus someone who just wants something from us, right? How frequently does someone say to us, oh God, I really love you. Would you mind doing this for me? Or, hey, I've got a favor. You know I really love you, right? Would you mind doing this for me? Oh, you're my best friend. Could you do me this favor? Now, if they're really your best friend, you don't mind doing the favor. But we all know. We know when someone's just pulling our leg. And we know when someone really loves us. So if we have that capacity, don't you think God has that capacity? You really think we can pull the wool over God's eyes and, with just perfect pronunciation, convince the divine that we're really in love? Of course not. So the emotion is also really important. not to get what you want from God. Because mantras are not supplications. There's no mantra I know of that is the give me the job I want mantra. Let me win the lottery mantra. My kid should get into this university mantra. I don't know those ones. Never heard of them. We're not asking God for things. We are announcing our surrender, our prayers, our offering, our bowing, our love. And so if you don't feel it, why bother? It's better be quiet, meditate, wait till you feel something. So the words are important, but the emotion is also important. You don't want to get into a habit of just rote recitation. Only say that which you feel. Say that which you mean. And if you don't mean it yet, work on meaning it. Chant a different mantra till you can chant that one. Chant Om. Until you really feel that love. Because you're not kidding anyone. So the words, get them right. But also make sure that the emotion is there. Because otherwise, if you know the emotion's not there, God knows the emotion's not there, who are you doing it for? People around you? Don't bother. Work on cultivating that love within. There's a beautiful story that Pujya Sadhviji shares of a young boy who doesn't know any mantras yet, and he's gone with his dad to the temple, and it's the time for silent prayers. And everybody's closing their eyes and praying in their minds, chanting. And the boy says to God, I don't know any prayers. Haven't learned any yet. Don't know any mantras. He said, but I've learned the ABCs in school. It's the only thing I know by heart. And I know that all of the prayers come from this alphabet. And so he closes his eyes and he chants A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and he chants his whole alphabet for God. And Pujya Swamiji shares the story, and he always says, he says, you know, God is so much happier with that little boy in his true love and devotion than for those who are able to perfectly chant many, many, many prayers or mantras in their mind, but who don't actually have the love. So make sure the emotion is there. And then, learn the words as well. But the emotion is key. Other questions? Any question anyone here has? Yeah. Come up, the microphone's right here. So the microphone is right here, if you can just come up to the microphone. Others who have questions, it might be good to, I was going to say to just come near the mic so that as soon as she's done, you're already out of your row and ready. Yes.
When do you stop worrying?
When do you stop worrying? About?
Everything.
Okay. So, worry has a couple of components to it. One component is the idea that something could actually go very wrong, that there is an outcome, there is a possible outcome which is really bad. That's aspect one. If there's no outcome that's really bad, you don't worry too much. If you know that all right, you may not have any control, but really, however this thing is going to go, it's going to be great. You don't worry. So aspect one is that there is a possible outcome that's really bad. Aspect of worrying two is, I have some control over it. Now, if that is true, if you are worried over something that you actually have some control over, then do whatever you can do to avert the outcome. If you worry about getting heart disease, let's say that you have a family history of heart disease. Everyone in your family has died of a heart attack. Well, for God's sakes, watch your weight, exercise, don't smoke, get annual checkups, make sure that all of your numbers are good, meditate, do yoga, live a healthy lifestyle, don't worry, right? There's actually things you can do to help prevent the situation. But in the situation of things that we have no control over, someone I love is going to die from a heart attack. Can't make them exercise, can't make them stop smoking, can't make them give up the junk food, can't make them lose weight, can't make them take care of their health. Well, that's when you have to surrender. So much of that which we worry over, when we're really honest, interestingly doesn't actually have one of those two aspects, and we worry unnecessarily. We worry about things where, even in the worst case scenario, it's not that bad. So ask yourself when you're worrying, first of all, is that thing I'm worried about really so awful? Is it really going to be the end of the world? Or might it just be a slightly different outcome than my agenda? And number two, do I actually have any control over it? If you have control, do whatever you can to avert the outcome. If you're worried about dying in a car accident, drive slowly, wear a seatbelt. Pay attention. Don't get in the car with people who have been drinking. There's things you can do. But a sense of pervasive worrying, as you say, worrying about everything, that implies that it's not so much just a specific thing you're worried about. Then that worrying becomes our general personality. And then it becomes actually just a personality style that keeps us from living. Because it always keeps us an arm's length away from the present moment. Because worrying is always about the future. And if I'm in the future, I'm not in the present. Your worry about what's going to happen an hour from now, a day from now, a year from now, prevents you from being right here, right now. And that's when you start to just look at it as a pattern of mind. So this is what my mind does, instead of be in the present moment. Some of us go to the past. Some go to the future. Some daydream. Some are pulled toward lust. Some are pulled toward greed. Some are pulled toward resentments or grudges. Some of us rehash bad things that happen to us. Some of us rehash the good things that happen to us. But they're all just mechanisms of the mind to keep us out of the present moment. They're all just aspects of the monkey mind. So then you get to a point where you just notice it. You bow to it. Worrying mind. Maybe give it a name. Did you know someone who used to worry a lot? Were you trained to worry when you were young? Give your worrying mind a name. And whenever it appears, just nice to see you. Mary, you've come to visit. Nice to see you today, but you know what? I don't have time today, Mary. We're going to have to catch up tomorrow. Just give it a name. Takes the sting out of it. Makes you stop feeling like it's you. It's a mechanism of the mind. And if these mental traits are ones that you can really easily identify with where they came from, typically a mother, a father, another family member of family of origin from young childhood, maybe a character on a TV show that you always watched, that you loved, that you wanted to be like, so you took it all in. Just name it that. Mom. And you just notice it. It's just a pattern of the mind. Someone else has lust, you have worry. Okay. Just a pattern of the mind. It's just where the mind goes. But don't let it distract you. Just notice it. And then bring your mind back to right here, right now. The more you get into it, the more it stays. So whenever you're in worry, just the moment you notice you're there, come back. If it's the same thing over and over again, do whatever you can to avert it and then surrender. And if it's everything, just bring the mind back. Just keep bringing it back. Bringing it back. It's a defense mechanism against spiritual awakening. That's all it is. It's a way to keep you stuck. Acknowledge it, bow to it. But don't put the keys to your car in its hand. Great. Yeah.
The answer I got from what you just spoke, but I want to just ask how difficult
And you'll find it. We're not nearly as complex as we would like to think. Just go within. You'll see it. If you go in really with love-filled, but fierce, ruthless honesty, you'll find it. Why you're holding on. And then you let go. Because you recognize that to not let go is actually keeping you stuck. And you're here on the banks of Mother Ganga. I mean, this is the most perfect and beautiful place to let go. But you gotta let go of the full package, and that becomes the struggle. Great. Other questions? Thank you.
Question is, how do you build faith?
How do you?
Build faith in God?
I'm so sorry. How do you?
Build faith.
Build faith. Thank you.
And the second question is, how do we move over?
Beautiful. And it's a practice. It's a practice. For me, on a personal level, for me, and again, this is personal. Different people build it in different ways. I was not raised in a religious family. I was not raised in a spiritual family, so I didn't grow with a background of, oh, I have faith in God in this form. For me, I build faith through nature. I look at the incredible perfection of nature. I look at the way that caterpillars become butterflies, that they know how to do that. The way that seeds sprout and become trees that then give fruit, and somehow an apple tree ends up giving apples, and an orange seed ends up giving oranges. I look at the way that a tree that's theoretically supposed to grow upwards grows sideways. Sometimes in the forest when the canopy is too dense, and somehow as merely a 2-foot-high tree, it knows not to grow straight up, that if it does, it's not going to get the light, and so it grows sideways. That there is that perfection, that intelligence, that wisdom. And from just pure common sense, from a purely pragmatic, scientific standpoint, to me, it's inconceivable that wisdom, that knowledge, that perfection would exist, be given to a seed, a caterpillar, a tree, and not to us. And so I find myself full of faith in that capital P planner who has given that wisdom, given that intelligence, given that divine plan through which it all happens, through which I wake up in the morning, right? I mean, we go to sleep. We all, if you've had a good night's sleep, you've had some of what we call deep sleep, which is the non-dreaming sleep. It's actually our restorative sleep. It's the most restorative sleep that we get. It's when the body repairs itself. But it's the sleep in which we are totally unconscious. In dream sleep, at least, we're just in a different world. In light sleep, there's kind of one part of us that's still aware to sounds around us or whatnot. Deep sleep, you are gone. And yet, there is no knower. There is no one who's aware, or who's aware that we're aware. And yet, we wake up. Clearly, there is someone, something, a power through which I wake up in the morning. To no merit of my own. Like, I get zero credit for that. I was gone. And then there I am. The fact that I keep breathing. You know, you close your eyes to meditate, you bring the awareness on the breath. And you can sustain it for a little while. After, a quarter of a century of meditation, can sustain it for several minutes in a row. But not the 17, 18 hours I'm awake. Not the 6, 7 hours I sleep. But I keep breathing, even when I'm not aware of it. Even when I'm awake, but I'm not aware of it. Something is breathing me. So for me, my faith actually comes through that very sort of scientific, pragmatic way of thinking and understanding the universe of, well, I know I'm not doing it. And so there must be someone, something, this power, this knowing, this capital K knowing, this capital P planner through which it's all happening. If you've got a spiritual or religious tradition in which you have faith in a manifestation of the divine, since I've come to India, now I've developed bhakti for different aspects of the divine. And to build that bhakti, to build that love and faith, you do japa. You read scripture about the different feats, the aspects, the characteristics, the stories of that particular aspect of the divine. But for me, it really is, it's about kind of a trust fall into the universe. Just an awareness, a deep awareness and knowing. A feeling that I'm in God's hands. And a feeling and a knowing that those hands are divine, are good, want our highest expression. So just work with it in all of the ways that to you feel powerful. Watch the sunrise. Look at the stars in the sky. Watch the sunset. Watch this creation. Did you do that? Did anyone you know do that? There was once a very powerful king, a good king. And one day a holy man came to his kingdom, and the king was taking the holy man on a tour through the kingdom, showing him, I've built these hospitals for the sick, and I've built these schools for the children, and I've built this for these people, and I've done this, and housed these people, and fed these people. And the holy man, they're walking by a river. The holy man picks up a rock out of the river, and he says to the king, tell your men to break this rock. They're kind of surprised. It was a strange request, but they do it. It's the holy man who asks them to, so they do it. And inside the rock is this fluid, this water, this nutrient-rich liquid. And inside the water is a little baby frog. And the holy man says to the king, did you do this for the frog also? And the king, of course, realizes that it's all being done by the divine. Like, really? Could you have planned that for the frog? There's there is a divine creator. We've been given free will. I'm not still quite sure why, because most of us don't seem to know really what to do with it. But we can use it to go toward truth, toward light, or we can use it to go away from that. And just because so many are using it to go away from that doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. So find whatever anchors you in faith and keep building on that. And we'll start with your second question tomorrow. Wonderful. Have a beautiful, beautiful rest of your evenings. Beautiful morning and day to our family joining us from all over the world. And for those of you staying in the ashram, but also those of you not staying in the ashram, just to remind you all that we have a beautiful full day of offerings, of yoga, of meditation, of yagnas. The arti, of course, I hope you all come straight from the arti. But all of the different offerings during the day are open to everyone. There's no charge for anything. So we hope that you'll take advantage of all of the special offerings here during the day. There's a schedule up in our reception area here. So feel free to come and join us, not just in the evening, but also from the morning. And I look so forward to seeing you all tomorrow. So much love to you all.